Hello and welcome back to my channel, Thrifty Day. My name is Leah. I'm the creator behind Thrifty Day. Today's episode is really fun. It is a haul and it is also a tutorial showing how to make these really fun junk journals for Christmas using items that I purchased from TJ Maxx, Marshalls, and HomeGoods. So first I will give you a peek into this little junk journal or creative journal, whatever you want to call it. It is made from gift boxes and wrapping paper. I do add a strip of fabric, although that is completely optional. I just thought that the contrast was really cute, so I wanted to add that. You will also need some glue. I used fabric tack, and I think it's important that you have scissors and a paper cutter and maybe some rickrack because that's really cute too. So if you have the fabric, I highly recommend getting some rickrack. I did put on metal corners. Those are also entirely optional. So here's the haul. I got everything you see here at either TJ Maxx, HomeGoods, or Marshalls. I love all of their ribbon and trims, so I grabbed a couple of those. They did not come on these wooden spools. They do have these at some of the stores, but I have them from years past because I buy them literally every year. And these are the gift boxes I use. They're quite large. I want to say, oh my gosh, like 15 by 12. They're pretty big. You could also get smaller ones. You don't have to use these. You don't have to use anything from TJ Maxx or Marshalls or HomeGoods. That's just where I bought all of these goodies. And I love this print. It also came in green. I couldn't decide which one to get, but I did go with the red because it is so nostalgic and I love that Santa. I also got these wrapping papers. If you are like me and you obsessively purchase wrapping paper, run to Marshalls or TJ Maxx or HomeGoods. They all have the same general things, by the way. And so that is where I got all this wrapping paper. So for this tutorial, these are the only pages we're going to use, and it's all we're going to use on the cover. I also do use some cardstock to line it. Again, totally optional. You don't have to add all those little details. It was just fun for me to do. So like I said, this is my fun haul. I hope you love it. Why do you want to make a journal out of wrapping paper and boxes? Because if you buy these items, I guarantee you will have a lot left over. And then whatever you have left over, you can also use in your Christmas wrapping and gift giving process. So anyway, I thought these were really fun. They're really glittery. I was just showing you some of the glitter on my workspace, but let's get into the tutorial now. The first thing I am going to do is start cutting strips of the wrapping paper. This is the part I like the least, which is why I am doing it first to get it out of the way. So I would just start by cutting large strips of it and folding it over. That is the easiest way to do it. And then I will later use a paper cut to trim them down to the exact sizes I need. But really right now, it's just about cutting those strips and getting those pages ready. You'll fold it in half because that will create the pages that will go inside our journal. Now, another reason it is a good idea to do this step first is because if you have some heavy books, it might be good to get that wrapping paper under them, just sort of put them across, just so the paper isn't quite as rolly as you can see it is there. It'll just make the next steps a little bit easier. You can also iron it on a low setting. So now let's start deconstructing the box. You don't need the bottoms of the boxes, but I would save them in case you make for future journals. They would make great bases for future journals because this box is very thick and nice quality. So save those because you can use them as bases for future journals. As you can see, I just sort of ripped it all on the corners so that I can easily cut it down. And I'm just going to use some scissors and cut right along where those bends are. There are 5 boxes included in the package that I purchased, and I'm only going to create one here on the tutorial, but I did end up making all of them into journals, and hopefully by the time you were watching this video, they are already listed in my Etsy shop. They're really affordable because they were super fun just to make, and since I had the supplies, I thought it was a good idea to go ahead and use them up. And I will tell you, I still had a lot of wrapping paper left over and obviously ribbon. So this is a really fun tutorial if you wanted to make all 5 and give them, to your friends as gifts, or maybe to coworkers, or maybe your daughter can give them to teachers, your son can give them to their teachers. It's just a really fun little tutorial in my opinion. So now that we have the top of our box all cut down, save those scraps. You know me, I'm a scrap saver. You can make them into pockets later. We're going to fold it over. I chose to fold this one directly in half. Now, if there's a print you don't want to lose, just fold it wherever you think you can get the best print for the cover. And so like I said, I trimmed mine in half, and then I end up cutting mine down to, I believe, about 9 by 6. I actually can't even remember right now. I made all of the journals different sizes because I thought that would be fun visually, and I will show them all at the end. So I just use my paper cutter that I use for everything. And the trick to using your paper cutter for everything is I have different blades. This one, I don't know if you can see in the video, but it's actually marked with some black dots at the top because that's the blade I use for heavy duty things like this, because I don't want to dull my new blades that I want to cut a little more precisely. And I just switch them out as I need them. So I hope that little tip helps you guys. This step is optional. I am going to add some lining to the inside of my box cover. I just think it looks prettier and it adds a little more dimension and stability to your journal. So I'm just going to cut mine in half, and then I'm going to use fabric tack to adhere it to the inside of the cover. I got this paper pad at Michael's. I really love it. I think it's nice and festive. I actually purchased it with the intent to make 23 journals. My daughter runs a dance program, my oldest daughter. Created and runs a dance program out of her school that she is a teacher at. And so as a surprise to them, we are making them all really cute little ring journals. So that's what I bought this paper for. But then when I saw the box print, I thought, oh my gosh, that would be so cute to use on the inside. So here I am using my fabric tack, and I'm just putting a very generous amount on there. It dries pretty quickly. I always put the lid right back on. Fabric tack dries so quickly. I know it is kind of a pain to have to do that, but in order to preserve and get every last drop out of that glue, it's a step that I highly recommend. So once you have your cardstock on there, you just make sure it's adhered very well. I could see that I didn't add enough glue, so I just went ahead and added one more little stripe down the side. I just use my hands to make sure that it is nice and flush on the paper. I want to make sure there's no creases or bubbles. And then I'm just going to repeat this exact same process on the other side. How cute is this paper? I just love it. That plaid is so Christmassy and welcoming. So I'm going to add the fabric tack and just repeat the process. While I have you here, if you would be so kind as to like this video, that would mean so much to me. It would help my channel. And while I have your ear, let's be sure we do that on everybody's videos, not just this one. I think it's so great to be able to help each other out. If you're getting some free content and tutorials here on YouTube that you really enjoy, the least we can do is leave a like. That's something I have been trying to practice because I realized as I ask you, I have a pattern of not liking and not commenting and not even subscribing. And so that's a pattern I've been really trying to break so that I can better support the other creators here on YouTube. So since I am doing that, I thought I would ask y'all to like my video too. And if you're new, subscribe. That would be awesome. But especially in this holiday season, let's support each other. So now that I have the covers on, I'm just going to use my little old paper cutter once again, and I'm just going to trim off that excess. I'm going to put the nicer blade in though, so that I get a much more sharp and precise cut. This is a really great way to just make a really simple journal. And especially for a December daily, I think it's going to be so festive and really fun. Let me know what you think in the comments, though. Would you have gone with the green box? The red box is so cute. I'm telling you, I may go back to Marshall's and get the green ones today, though. So this next step, once again, totally optional. You could just fold it over. That box will be nice and secure without doing this step. I personally just like the visual of fabric and the texture of having fabric on the end and cardboard on the other. So I just rip a strip of fabric. If you know me, you know I rarely cut fabric. I rip everything. I personally don't mind the look, and I think it gives you a really nice straight cut. So I cut just a piece. I eyeballed it. It's probably about 2.5 or 3 inches, and I'm going to use my fabric tack and put it right on the spine. I do think it's best that if you sort of use your finger to swirl around that glue to get a more even look, because sometimes if the glue has like too big of a drop, you can actually see it through a fabric like this that's a little bit thinner, and it doesn't make a nice look. So do go ahead, get a little bit messy and spread that glue around so that it's a little bit more even. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. I know some people don't like having glue all over their fingers. I think it's just something I'm used to at this point, but maybe that's just me. Also, I got this fabric at Joann's. I think it's super cute. And as a really fun touch, if you wanted to go get this fabric, rip it into strips and tea stain it. I've done that in the past, and it's just super cute if you wanted a really vintage Christmas look. You can even just roll it back up on a wooden spool and use it when you're wrapping presents or making journals or creating tags. So I love this fabric. I buy it every year. I buy about 3 yards, and it lasts me the whole season. I did cut that strip of fabric long enough to wrap around the back, which is the inside of the journal. So now that you have all these scraps, save them, because one is actually big enough that I used on the next journal. So just set them to the side, and you're going to repeat pretty much the same process. I'm going to add that fabric tack. I'm going to swirl it around so that it is a nice even layer, and then I'm going to press down the fabric. I know you might be thinking, can I use Mod Podge for this step? Can I use a different type of glue like PVA? Absolutely. But in my experience, if you want a nice, even seal when you are using fabric on paper, especially, fabric tack is always the way to go. Can you use Mod Podge? Absolutely. Will it take longer to dry and maybe not adhere as well? In my opinion, yes. But I could be wrong. So use what you have, but I always have fabric tack on hand. I'm just going to add a little bit more to make sure it is sealed, and this step is done. The next step, again, is totally optional. I'm going to add rickrack to the ends of the fabric there. And again, it's just for a decorative look. It has nothing to do with the integrity of the journal. It just adds a really cute, festive, Christmassy look. So I am going to grab my green rickrack. You can get this at any craft store, and or even Walmart. I believe Walmart even sells rickrack, so you can get them anywhere. Also, when I said green, I was wrong. I did not have enough green rickrack to use green for this journal, so instead I pulled out my yellow rickrack, and that's what you see me doing here. This rickrack was a little bit thicker, and so it took a little bit longer to press down and adhere, but the look is so adorable. I love that bright yellow rickrack. I think it looks so cute because it matches Santa's presents on the cover. So I'm actually kind of glad, because it was a happy mistake. And actually what it inspired me to do for the other 3 journals that I created with these boxes was to use a different color rickrack for every single cover. So that was really fun. I love when little mistakes happen. So this is a very easy step that adds a really nice festive touch. The only thing I will let you know is that it does take a little bit to dry. So more often than not, what I will do is add the top rickrack, and then I'll set it aside to dry and work on something else. For the sake of this video, I obviously don't do that so that you don't have to wait, but that is my process usually when I'm creating journals. So now I'm just going to flip it right over, and I'm going to complete that process on the inside cover. I think these wrapping paper journals would be so cute to use as December dailies because the images are so festive. You could even use only the white side to create on and keep the wrapping paper totally unused. I feel like that would be a really cute end result. Anyway, that's just an idea. Let me know in the comments if you're doing a December daily. I do every year. I don't care how busy and stressed out I am. It's something I take enormous amount of pride and joy in creating every holiday season. And so I'm very excited. I don't think I've made my December daily yet. There's one I really love. It's a sample for my Patreon, but I don't know if I'll have enough supplies to make myself one in that same pattern. So I might have to vary it up a little bit, but I'm very, very excited. I usually do a soft cover journal for my December daily. That's a style I really love, especially because I like to pack it full. So yeah, let me know if you're doing it too. Once you have that rickrack on, you will have a little bit of excess. Oh gosh, I had a lot. I way overshot on this rickrack, which is a bummer. I'm going to still save these, so I could probably make tabs out of them for my December daily. And but once you trim those tabs off, just make sure you glue those tails down really well, because you don't ever want them to lift. I would definitely take the time here to make sure you hold them down long enough so you have a really good seal so that you have a really strong cover here. So our cover is about complete. I am just going to use my bone folder to make that crease nice and crisp on our spine. I am going to add some metal book corners here. This is optional. I just like the way they look. You can find these on Amazon. Unfortunately, you do need to buy quite a bit of them. I do believe Tim Holtz has book corners too, so you can find those at craft stores. I just use my pliers. I don't use any glue or anything. I just make sure that they are extremely tight. And I have found that they stay on for years. So you just squeeze nice and tight, and they just go right on one side, and then you do the other side, and you have some really cute decorative gold metal book corners right on your journal. So now that our cover is 100% done, we need to add our pages. So you are going to get those pieces of wrapping paper that you cut, and you are going to trim them down to the size of your journal. So my journal, I think, was about 9 inches. So I'm going to trim off that little bit where you can see that it's not exactly even. Let me show you right there, because I want my pages to be all precisely exactly the same size. So once I do that, I just cut a couple more pieces in each style at right about 9 inches. Your journal can be as tall as you want, so you don't need to do 9 inches. You can do however tall your journal was. I'm going to do probably 2 to 3 pages per wrapping paper print. I think for this journal, I ended up doing 2 pages per print. So I ended up with 8 or 10 pages, and then front and back, that would make it, you know, a very nice size journal. So here are all the pages. They look so happy and festive together. I'm just going to grab a few, and I'm going to start constructing my one signature, because that's what we have for this journal. It's hard because I did not follow my own advice and put them under some heavy books, but that's okay. Once we have the journal completely made and it is in a book form, they will flatten on their own, honestly. It just makes this particular step a little more challenging. So, and the beauty of this wrapping paper, it is that it is very high quality. It's very thick, high quality wrapping paper. So journaling on it will be a really fun experience because you already have some really quality paper. So now that we have that signature made, I'm going to add a clip to the side, and then I'm just going to trim it down to make sure that the width is okay. I always do this at the end, and I'll show you here. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this step, but for me, this one just works, and it's the way I've always done it, and I guess I'm just old and set in my ways. And I can't believe this tutorial is almost over. We're so close. Now that we have our pages done, the only thing we need to do is punch holes in the spine, punch holes in our signature, and sew it in with a very simple 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I am just going to use this embroidery thread. It is a very happy, bright, cheery Christmas green. So I'm going to add a couple of paper clips to the top and to the bottom to make sure that those pages stay exactly where I want them to stay. I am going to measure out enough thread to complete the signature sewing, and I usually do that by doing 3 times the length, and I'm going to set that aside for now because I do need to grab an awl and punch those holes into the spine and into the signature. This is going to be really easy because we only have one signature, so I'm just going to go right into the middle, and then I usually go about 2 inches from the bottom and 2 inches from the top. And then the easiest way to make sure that your holes are in the signature, in my opinion, in my process, is I just get my signature, place it right on the top, and I make 3 holes right where the holes are on the signature. And then I punch those holes out. For me, this works. Again, I'm sure other journalers do it very different, but this is the way I do it. It's the way I've done it for years, and it just works for me. Also, I really love this awl. I got it years and years ago on Amazon. It has like a rubber handle so that you have a lot of control when you're punching those holes, which is nice because awls are so incredibly sharp that it's nice to have as much control as possible. So I did get that rubber gripped awl on Amazon. So now I am just going to put a piece of washi tape down to hold that tail down, and I am going to thread my needle, and I'm going to start in the middle, and start sewing in my signature. If you are looking for a more detailed tutorial about sewing in signatures, you can check out my playlist here that is titled, I believe, How to Make a Journal. And I have lots of videos showing me sewing in signatures. And so you can check those out. But right now, like I said, I'm just doing that very simple 3-hole pamphlet stitch. And it is a little bit challenging because I didn't flatten those pieces of wrapping paper, but it's okay. We get through and it is amazing. I would like to note that there is a dog barking in the background, and it is not one of my 4 dogs. So I want to thank my pack for being quiet, and I would like to tell the neighbor's dog to please settle down while I am trying to do a voiceover. But anyway, we are just about done here sewing in our signature, and this journal is almost done, and it is so, so adorable. Once you go into that last hole, you can remove the needle, you can remove the washi tape, and then I tie it into 3 little knots. I make sure it is nice and tight. I always flip the journal over to make sure that it's nice and taut on the spine. Tie those 3 little knots, and then you can trim those tails. You can keep them long, you can tie a bow, you can do whatever makes you happy. I always just cut them off because more often than not, I end up just gluing over them in my journaling process anyway. So now it's time to remove those paper clips, and look at how cute. So many cute little Santa prints, so festive. It came out adorable, and I'm very happy with the end result. So now I'm going to use that thick Christmassy cord that I got from, I believe this one was from Home Goods, and I'm going to tie it around the journal to make a closure. I always give at least 3 or 4 loops of whatever closure I use so that as the journal grows, you have plenty of twine or ribbon or whatever I use to continue to wrap your journal to preserve it and keep it decorative as well. I always just tie it off with a little bow, and then we are all done. Friends, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much. If you made it to the end, thank you, thank you. Leave a comment and let me know if you were going to be doing this tutorial. It was so fun, and I hope you all love it. So these are the 5 that I made. They all have a different color trim, and I think they're so, so cute. They are in my Etsy shop and they are available. So if you're interested, tap the link and head on over. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.